Hello and welcome to my podcast. My name is Sam Rowlandson and I am currently a student at Full Sail University pursuing a Bachelor of Science degree in Recording Arts. The person of interest I will be interviewing is Jeff Bowe. Jeff is the production manager at the University of South Florida College of the Arts. I conducted this interview via email, so I will be reading the questions and answers. Jeff was very detailed in some of his answers, nevertheless, I will be reading his entire answer for each question. Let's get started with some introductory questions. How long have you been in the industry, Jeff? I have been engineering sound in some form or fashion for the past 16 years. I have been a production manager for 6 years. What inspired you to take this journey? I started out wrapping cables for a small local band when I was a kid, and I never looked back. How do you continue to be inspired in this industry? Now, my favorite work is designing for dance. I met a wonderful choreographer when I was in college. We collaborated so well that we decided to get married. She started a company, and I designed their lights and managed their productions. That creative work is what keeps me interested the most. Although my day job as a production manager for the university is also something new every day, which also keeps the work fresh. These next questions are answered with much more detail. Sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy. What do you see as the role of the visual arts in society today, particularly in your profession? 21st century American society is image saturated. Visual culture is everywhere, particularly in advertising and new media visuals, and is instant, brief, and ever-changing. TV commercials are shorter than they used to be, and mobile devices allow instant banner ads to be completely ubiquitous. The small format, quickly changing the nature of these formats, require simple, quickly legible, and eye-catching design choices. Designers must be skilled in semiotics to perform their jobs. These design aesthetics are becoming more popular in a variety of fields, including stage design. Moving instruments are omnipresent in contemporary theatrical design, and projected scenery, media walls, and media servers are a necessity for large-scale spectacle shows. It's not enough anymore to have a large, interesting set at a rock and roll show. The set must move, and it must have flashing pictures all over it. The opening and closing ceremonies of the London Olympics are a great example. There wasn't just a big media wall in the stadium like there was in Beijing 4 years before. The entire arena was a media wall. With an LED panel at literally every seat wired into a massive media server, this is the direction we are heading. There is a long history of this sort of aesthetic permeability, of visual art providing material for quotation and appropriation in stage design. In our venues, we have had several recent encounters with visual art, theatrical design, crossovers. A few years ago, we hosted a restaging of modern dance choreographer Trisha Brown's seminal work, Set, Reset, from 1983, which featured a flown multimedia sculpture designed by Robert Rauschenberg. On another occasion, the Bill T. Jones Arnie Zane Dance Company restaged Mr. Jones' evening-length work, Serenade, The Proposition, featuring a very interesting lighting design by Robert Wierzel in our theater. For this piece, Robert lit the set, in part, with a series of visible fluorescent tubes laid out across the stage. This was about the time when lighting designer Kevin Adams won the Tony for his work on the musical Spring Awakening. This design also featured visible fluorescent tubes as scenic lighting accents, which were used not as illumination, but as lit scenery to help define the theatrical space and to add a modernist feel to the total design. It is hard not to be reminded in both cases of artist Dan Flavin's minimalist light sculptures, which draw attention to the architecture of the spaces in which they are exhibited, and subvert the normally background function of gallery lighting. Adams and Wierzel's designs do the same thing. Fluorescent fixtures are not typically used in theater. Their use of these instruments in such a foregrounded way follow Flavin's lead by drawing attention to the artificial nature of theatrical vision. New communications and media technologies make imagery almost instantly available. Do you believe that this is having a positive or negative influence on your field or industry, and could you provide examples? It's certainly making some things that we do easier. Research for period designs is much easier and less dusty than it used to be. Instead of searching books and slide archives for information on period furniture, for instance, one need only browse to the Metropolitan Museum's website and download high-resolution research images from a searchable database. In a similar way, Photoshop filters and digital design tools make it easy to produce props and design elements for scenery in almost any historical style a breeze. Set pieces can be printed instead of painted, and even architectural elements can be fashioned on the computer and printed to size three-dimensionally in styrofoam and other materials. From research to finished product, almost the entire design process can be accomplished digitally. Some people miss the paint, but CAD drawings are much easier to share amongst the design team than paper documents. I'd like to take this time right now to explain that a CAD, or computer-aided design, is a process that allows computer users to design a variety of products in geometric shapes on screen rather than building them by hand. This definition comes from www.wisegeek.com. What popular images do you see that are frequently repeated throughout your industry? This is harder. Almost any image can appear in stage design, depending on the show. If we make the question about popular visual motifs, I would say that rapidly changing projected images, simplified graphics, and high contrast imagery are pretty common. There is also a move into interactive imagery. This is one of the most interesting to me. Since the release of the Wii and Kinect game systems, audiences are accustomed to seeing their physical actions affect what they see on the television screen. Several artists are working with these ideas. The blockbuster Rain Room at the Museum of Modern Art this summer allowed guests to walk through a space in which water fell around them while they stayed dry. The room was wired with motion capture devices that altered the flow of the rain to adaptively respond to the locations and movements of the people. This sort of adaptive environment has been experimented with in stage design over the past 10 years or so. Bill T. Jones's Ghost Catching and Merce Cunningham's Hand-Drawn Spaces are a couple of examples. USF alumnus Hope Goldman's Form Constant, a collaboration with graphic designer Andrew Moffat, is an example with more local relevance. In true 21st century style, you can find a video of Goldman's work on YouTube. Who is one of your favorite visual artists, and/or what is your favorite style of visual art? Personally, I am fond of Expressionism. Odilon Redon and Paul Gauguin are favorites, along with the Impressionists, especially Renoir. These guys understood color and form. They could recreate a visual experience's subjectivity while maintaining enough of a visual connection to the subject matter to make the subject clear. More contemporary favorites include Dan Flavin, of course, as well as Richard Serra. Walking through a Serra sculpture is an exploration of the potential of space as well as design element. I also enjoy Bill Viola. I like experiencing the way in which he can defamiliarize the everyday by altering the timeline. It's like no theater. No other video artist that I know of offers such a payoff for sitting still in a gallery for a half hour. How has your knowledge of famous artworks influenced your creative process? Artists, designers, directors, choreographers, we all use the same elements to create our work. Semiotics, phenomenology, color, line, form, shape, texture, time. Picasso designed for the Ballet Rouge. Inigo Jones designed for the stage and was also an architect. No artistic discipline exists in a vacuum. I am inspired by sculpture when I design scenery. I begin my process by asking myself what sort of subjective, phenomenological understanding of their world the characters in a play hold. I work from cubism to provide a setting for Lil Bit's fractured memories in How I Learned to Drive, for instance. For a modern dance piece, I took inspiration from the handmade materials of some contemporary sculptural installations I experienced at a gallery in Soho. I'd like to take this time to thank Jeff Bowe for taking the time to respond to these questions, and you for taking the time to watch this podcast. Have a great day.